What's cracking, everyone? Amy Crichton here, and in today's video we are doing a slow motion showdown. Now in front of me I have three cameras, three of the biggest brands you will find on the market today. We have Red, we have Canon, and we have Sony. Now this test was quite difficult to do. Being a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to lighting, especially for slow motion, I found it really difficult to do this test. Because we have all three cameras set up in a line, we have to make sure they're all capturing the same kind of thing. Now lighting on that hand from three different cameras is a nightmare. So when you're shooting slow motion, generally you need a lot of light because you need a higher shutter speed. So that was a problem in itself because I had to have all three cameras shooting the same thing, rolling at the same time. Now, not every angle is going to be perfect lighting, so this is not about lighting. This is just about comparing the slow motion features of each camera to see how they look. So do not judge me on my lighting here. Now, it was raining outside today, so there were a couple of things that I would have liked to shoot, like some smoke bombs and some water bombs and stuff like that. But we had to just stay inside, so this is what we got. So I'm going to go through this with you as you're watching it. So the first thing you're going to see is a tumbler glass, and we poured some Coke into it. Very simple experiment. Now, as you can see on the far left, the Canon is at 100 frames per second, the Sony is at 240 frames, and so is the Red. Now you have to be a little bit creative with the framing on this one. Obviously they're not going to be identical. So while the Canon kind of sticks out of those three, it is just because of the framing. If you watch it through, the 240 frames a second is just so much cleaner, so much nicer, and you double the length of your shot. I was actually really quite impressed with the Sony in this test because compared to the Canon, which is kind of a fairer comparison than comparing the Sony to the Red, the Canon, while it was pretty good, the 100 frames it isn't slow enough, and it is a little bit softer. You just don't have that detail there. Second shoot we did was milk. Now milk always looks really good slowed down. It's thick, it's creamy, it just looks legit. We originally were dropping a 20-cent piece into this glass of milk to try and get that splash. That didn't work. So I had some little nuts and bolts. We thought we'd just drop those in there. Now this glass just absolutely itself. As you can see, the glass just shatters and we ended up with milk everywhere. All right, moving on to the next thing we decided to shoot. Now, I didn't have any red wine. This is a poor man's slow-mo test. So I had some dye and I put some dye in the water. And it does not give you the effect that I was looking for, but it's still, this is a test, it's a slow-mo test. You get the idea. So we had some wine getting poured into a wine glass. And as you can see also in this, the three different colors. So when I was grading this footage, I put the Arri Phantom LUT on the Sony. The Canon is just a standard profile straight out of camera with a little bit of contrast and a little bit of saturation. And the Red, we've just gone back to a 709 on a medium contrast and a medium roll-off. But as you can see in the footage, it is, the colors are really quite different. So that's interesting in itself. Personally, I think the Sony looks the best color-wise. It's more realistic to what I was seeing with my eye. And you can also see in the background of the Sony, that black is a lot deeper and just thicker and nice and juicy black. Okay, the next test was also a failure. This is a second glass that I broke for the day. Now these ice cubes, they're not real ice cubes, they're plastic ice cubes. So the fact that this glass broke again is just a joke. Basic test, throwing those ice cubes into the glass to get a little bit of a rebound effect. All right, last test was pouring some water into that glass. We got a fresh glass, luckily that one didn't break. Same thing here, it's interesting. The Sony colors on this looks a little bit different, and I guess it's because it's just so flat across the board. There isn't much color in this scene at all, and that Arri LUT is really just pushing those magenta tones. So what you can take away from this, or what I personally take away from this thing is outstanding, and it continues to be outstanding. This wasn't a bias test. I love red. Oh, that's why I own one. But for the money, this slow motion is just as good as this slow motion. Now, while Canon did perform the worst out of all three, I think that was always going to happen. The C200 is an older model, and it is widely known that the slow motion on this camera is far from great. It is soft. It's not the greatest, but I think in controlled lighting conditions, you can kind of get away with it. It was definitely usable, but far superior is the Sony and the red. They're on par, but for the money, I'd be going Sony every step of the way. And that wraps it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did like this video, please like, subscribe, and comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one.